Frollo is the app that several thousand single parents say has been life-changing for them in the most profound way. If you're a single parent and want to connect with other single parents and open yourself up to an amazing support network and new experiences, then the Frollo app is the one for you. The Frollo app has two modes: community mode for meetups and holidays, guidance and support, chats, and discovery to make it easy to find like-minded local single parents near you. Dating mode is a mindful, safe, and respectful dating offering where everybody is there to date another single parent. All users on Frollo are verified, putting our user safety first always. The Frollo app is free to download and use, with the option to upgrade to premium for access to lots of additional premium features for an elevated experience, which makes it easier than ever to access the incredible connections and experiences you're looking for. To download Frollo, search for Frollo, Frollo, on the App or Google Play Store, or go to www.frollo.com for more info. We can't wait to see you on the app soon. Hi, I'm Zoe Desmond, the founder of Frollo, the award-winning app for single parents that features both community and dating modes. And I'm also co-author, along with my wonderful friend Rebecca Cox, that I made through Frollo, of the book How to Be a Happy Single Parent. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Frollo podcast. Today I am delighted to be joined by Sabrina Zohar. Sabrina, welcome to the Frollo podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Zoe. I'm super excited to be here. And hi, everybody.
Oh, well, I would love you to tell our listeners a bit about you, Sabrina, and what it is that you do.
Absolutely. So my name is Sabrina Zohar. I am a dating coach and the host of Do the Work podcast. I'm also an entrepreneur. I have a clothing line called Software. So I'm a jack of all trades, Jane of all trades, if you will. But yeah, so I really started years ago. My kind of journey started when my mom went to the doctor with a headache and they found 6 brain aneurysms that grew to the top half of her vessel. And so that was in 2017. And that was around the time when I stopped smoking. I was a pack a day smoker. I was on all kinds of meds. I was all over the place. We'll just say that. And so that's really where my journey just in healing and in therapy and all of those things started in those modalities. And then I started my company Software. And after years of doing that, doing podcast panels, traveling the country to do all the different kinds of shows and things like that, I started having people reaching out to me just for coaching. And so that's kind of really how I started to coach people more on business and kind of life coaching. And it always revolved around dating. Everything would constantly bring itself back. And so it just naturally segued. And then here we are to where I get to work with people all around the world that are really, really struggling with anxiety and dating and how to navigate the waters to, at the very least, I always say, I can't guarantee that I'm going to have you meet somebody. I can't take control of that part, but what I can help you is take control of your part, which is the process and how you go about dating and being able to navigate that more effectively.
Wow. Well, that is a very important and relevant topic. Well, for everyone really, but I know that all our listeners are super interested in dating and in kind of learning how to make better decisions than maybe some of us single parents in the Frollo community have maybe made in the past, and learn how to date better and in a more considered and mature way as well. So really excited to delve into some of your tips and wisdom on that. And I know you have your brilliant podcast, Do the Work, and you have some fascinating guests on there covering all sorts of different topics as well. So I'm sure that you have, absorbed so much through that as well, and some of the guests that you've had on.
Oh my God, it's been awesome. And I get it. I've dated people. I'm not a single parent myself. I had a dog. So I always used to laugh and say I was a single parent. But I understand having the limitations and having all of those things. And I've dated men that have had children. And what I've definitely learned, I love having the podcast. I'm able to learn so many things about all these different communities. And I have people on of all different walks of life just to be able to understand different neuroscience and the nervous system and just different modalities and how our body actually works. But I think what's been interesting is, especially with the single parent community, is it's one of those things that I think you know as well as I do that like there are just certain aspects of being a single parent, like you said, with maturity that we can't avoid. And so I'll get people that are like, but I don't understand, like, but I really want to go out with this guy, but we both have kids and we both work 3 jobs and we live 6 hours away and we can't see each other, but that's not fair. And it's like, hey, we need to talk like an adult. What do you mean that's not fair? It's like, yeah, you know what's not fair? You have children and a life. You know, like as in a single parent, dating as a parent versus dating without children means that you have to date differently, means that you have to work differently with people. That doesn't mean that it's like, oh, we have to stomp our feet. It's like we can figure out ways on to work around that. And that doesn't mean that there's like, you know, no hope. It's that there's ample hope. It's just about learning how to date with children and to reprioritize things and get really used to saying in your day, sorry, that's not a priority to me versus I'm so busy, I don't have time.
Exactly, and I think also that actually, a lot of us single parents are probably fussier than we've ever been in a, as in our standards have been raised because now there's kids involved, and it's not just thinking of ourselves and who might be someone that we'd go after, but it's actually, is this person somebody that I would want around my kids, and all of that. So this, it's quite layered. But I wondered, out of all of the the people that you coach for dating and of all the things that come up, I suppose, in your community, are there any common themes that you can share around people's struggles with dating?
The anxiety, I think, is the number one thing I see throughout is, I think a lot of us, if anybody has read Attached, it's like the entry drug. It's the entryway into this whole world of like attachment theory and dating and things like that. And I think so often the number one thing that I see is the anxiety around those first 3-4 months, like, and throughout, but I would say the anxiety around the unknown of what's going to happen. What do I do? How do I do this? Because for so many of us, myself included, we never had a healthy childhood. We didn't have a healthy role model of what a relationship should look like. And to this day, I'll say my sister and her husband, thank God that she met her husband early, because like if I hadn't seen the two of them build a relationship, they've been together now for almost 20 years since they, were just out of high school. If I hadn't watched them build a healthy relationship, I actually don't know what that would have looked like. And I think the number one thing that I really hear is just like this anxiety, the scarcity mindset, and really just believing and feeling like a lot of people are like a 3-year-old left in a room alone, as if like these people have abandoned you and they've left you and oh my God. And it's like what I think a lot of people haven't really realized is no, that's just your trauma. That's just your experiences that need to be healed through so that you can go out there and date like a goddamn adult and not like a 4-year-old who is waiting for their parent to leave them without food for a week. Like, I think that's the number one issue is just like the pinch not really matching the ouch when it comes to the issues that are actually being presented in dating. Like, oh, you had one date with this person and they didn't call you again. Like back in the day, on paper, we all look at that going, okay, it's a numbers game, right? That sucks. It's shitty. But some people really act as if like, that's it. They've just been left at a train station when they were a newborn and like, that's it. They have to fend for themselves. And it's like, we've got to be able to see things from a place of where we are now and not from a place of when that stuff actually took place as a kid and how it's being projected to exist in our adult life.
Yeah, I mean, the attachment book is so brilliant. It gives such a clear understanding of the different styles. So for anyone listening who hasn't delved into the attachment theory and different attachment styles, can you give a little quick kind of overview on what that looks like so that people might be able to identify which category or categories they kind of fit into?
Totally. So the thing, with attachment theory, like it's pretty much just understanding how a child attuned to how a parent was able to attune to a child's needs. So we learn like an attachment style is built in our early childhood. And I think that's why so many people try to, oh no, I had a perfect childhood. No, what are you talking about? And it's like, listen, you can't come to me and say you had a perfect childhood, but then if somebody doesn't text you back for 3 minutes, you're having a panic attack and need to take medication. Like the pinch doesn't match the ouch because we learn how to attach in our early childhood. And so now there's No, the reason that, so I love the book Attached, and I want everybody to read it in the sense where just to educate and learn. But the thing is, a lot of people self-identify, and that's where this becomes a slippery slope, because attachment theory in general has a spectrum. So you can be on all different parts of the spectrum. This is not a personality. This is not like narcissism or borderline personality disorder or bipolar, things like that. Those are personality disorders that are actually in your brain. That's what you're born with. That is how your brain is created when you were in childhood. This is how you attach to people, how you learn. So this means with attachment theory in general, this can be healed through and change. So I always like to preface that so people don't listen and say, oh my God, I'm anxious attachment. That's it for me. It's like, no. You can absolutely work to get secure. It's just, it's a little bit harder. That's it. It's just, it takes a little bit more work because you have to undo behavior that you learned. So there are the main ones. There's secure, which is where we're all hoping to go. And I think, the book Attached claims 50% of people are secure. They've debunked that now 15 years later to say it's total bullshit. It's not 50% of people are secure. It's significantly less. And a secure person pretty much just believes that they know how to give and receive love. So they know how to co-regulate, which means that they can be alone. They don't take that as a personal attack of, oh, hey, you need to be, no worries. Okay, cool. I'll just go take care of myself. Like they're able to remove themselves from people, or to self-regulate, but they can also co-regulate. So they also know how to come closer to somebody. They were taught growing up how to express their emotions, how to say how they were feeling, things like that. Then you go into the insecure attachment styles. There are, like I said, there's a spectrum. There's the this, but we're talking about the main meat and potato ones that most people know of. There's avoidant, there's anxious, and then there's a dismissive or disorganized avoidant, which is kind of the amalgamation of both. Like I said, there'll be the disorganized this and the fearful this. It's like, let's just call the main three. The anxious attacher has a low sense of self and a high sense of others. So that person has low self-esteem and believes everybody else is going to come save them. You're going to tell me that I'm okay. You're going to validate me, because they may have had super inconsistent parents. For me, I grew up in a household. My dad was a narcissist. My mother was a people pleaser. So I had one parent that was in and out all of my life. So I always felt abandonment. And then I had my mom who had no boundaries and would people please. So what was I taught? Your needs go second. Be a good girl. Don't rock the boat. Shut your mouth. Take it. You never know when it's going to happen again. You don't know who's going to come and get you. So I've always been scared that someone's going to leave me. So if I don't get a text from someone in 3 minutes, that's it. It's the end of the world. I'm being abandoned. Yeah. And so that's where that gets triggered. Then we have the other side of the spectrum, the avoidant. Now, the thing with the anxious and the avoidant, it's called the trap. They both trigger each other, but they both have each other. So like the anxious person's also avoidant. The anxious person is avoiding looking at themselves to understand what's going on in their own body. Then we have the avoidant person. The avoidant person also has anxiety. How they handle things as they were taught growing up. Emotions aren't safe. No. You can't open your mouth. If you say anything, this person's going to run away from you. They have their own abandonment issues, but they look at it as rejection. You're going to judge me and look down on me for having needs, so I need to take care of myself. So they're the ones that are really career driven. They're the types that'll throw themselves in. They can be super, super, super successful into careers, but you'll notice a lot of times they may not have a lot of really close friends, or they may be maybe like lone ranger type. They are low sense of others, high sense of self. So they have essentially put themselves on the pedestal, and the anxious person has taken themselves off the pedestal. So you can see how they each trigger themselves. Each person looks at each other. The anxious person looks at the avoidant saying, oh my God, you can self-regulate. You're so calm. You don't need other people. You can emotionally regulate. That's so hot. The avoidant person looks at the anxious, oh my God, you can let people in. You're self-expressive. Wow, how sexy. But then you start to see, once they get triggered, how both of them start to hate each other for those things that they loved about each other in the beginning. Then we go into the disorganized, which is just really an amalgamation. It's low sense of self and low sense of others. That's really prevalent in homes of abuse, or that's the hot and cold, where somebody with alcoholism or like that kind of abuse, maybe physical abuse, things like that in the home, they want the love from the parent when they go for it, but when they get it, they get hurt. So they remove themselves. So they want the love from you, but then they remove themselves. So any of those people you've dated, the super hot and cold, the really inconsistent, 1 minute they're in, 1 minute they're out, those are usually people with disorganized. They want the love just like everyone else, but they're so terrified of getting it that they'll just constantly remove themselves because that just feels safer, and it's a protective mechanism. So that's attachment theory, very overarching, but you can see what I mean by there's so much nuance to it. We don't want someone to just go, oh, this person's avoidant. It's not used to diagnose other people. This is really just to learn, where did I learn this about myself, and how am I interacting with other people?
Yeah. And I think it is a helpful awareness just to, be aware of maybe how kind of how you show up in relationship, like how we show up in relationships, and how we might be feeling something, not because it's fact and the other person has done something that's making us feel this way, but it's whatever is being triggered because of our own individual kind of attachment styles as well. So I think that awareness can be very helpful.
Totally.
So in terms of, do you have any green flags for people to look out for in early dating? Good signs that people can feel reassured by.
So I think honestly, it's one of those things when it comes to like green flags, red flags, it's actually a lot. I think if we strip a lot away, so it's a couple of things. One, one of the green flags we need to look out for is like, how do you feel in your body when you're with this person? Do you feel calm? Do you feel seen, heard, understood, and safe? That's a green flag that we overlook. How do I feel? How do I feel when I'm with this person? Are they consistent? When they say I'm going to call, do they call? When they say, hey, I'll see you Friday at 5:00. Friday at 5:00, do they show up? Is this person, because I think we so often we look for the green flag. Do they text you every day? Are they texting you all the time? Are they telling you that they want to see you? It's like, okay, words and actions need to align. That's a big green flag. That's a huge green flag. And I think so often it's like, we'll look at something like, this person wants to go slow. That's a red flag. It's like, well, wait a minute. What does that mean to them? Did we stop to get curious? So I think when it comes to looking for green flags, what we really need to start looking out for is, how are we feeling when you start to date somebody? What's coming up in your body? Are you feeling secure with this person? Do you feel like if you say anything, they're going to run away? Okay, cool. So then you might not feel safe around this person. You might not feel like you could just say anything. And I'm not saying that after the first date, you have to assess that. But after a first date, if you're going home and you've already planned your entire wedding, we have a glaring red flag that's coming out on us. And it's about also showing up as ourselves as the green flags. Because like, if I leave a date saying that was a nice date, I had a good first date. If I see this person again, that's great. And if not, like, that's okay too. A first date's just to see if I have a second date. That's a green flag in a person. That person's not attaching to any outcomes. That's the type of show. We don't want to leave a date and have someone texting you, you're the love of my life. And oh my God, I met my person and let's spend every day together. It's like I just had somebody write in and they're in their 50s and they're dating and they met online. And it's like, well, we couldn't see each other. So we talked for 3 weeks every day. And it's like, oh my God, we had 4-hour phone calls every day. It's like, no, that's not good. Then we met and we spent every day together for 2 weeks. Okay, again, not good. And now they're away and they're acting super different. And I haven't heard from them. It's like, because they're chasing a feeling. None of this was green flags. Because what happens is when we want to rush and expedite the stages of the relationship quicker than they need to be, you can't be so sad that you're going to be spit out on the other side when you threw yourself in too quickly. We have to get to know people. So if you leave a date and somebody says, I'll call you tomorrow, and they call you tomorrow, great. Give that person more of your time. If somebody says, I'd love to see you again, and 3 weeks go by and you don't hear from them, great. Stop entertaining them. That's what I mean by sometimes it really is simpler than we see it to be. If someone keeps telling you, I want to see you again, and not making plans, then stop believing the bullshit. If they're breadcrumbing you and you feel like your needs aren't being met, we need to start looking into why you keep allowing it.
Yeah, for sure. And you've helpfully just called out some of the red flags, so I didn't even need to ask. And thinking about kind of, a lot of the single parents in the Frollo community, many of the single parents in our community will be coming from relationship breakdowns and maybe have had traumatic experiences with those relationship breakdowns, have trust issues, be terrified of, and opening up the door to dating. Obviously, that doesn't speak for everyone. Some people, are like, let's go and let's have fun and let's embrace it and all of that. So it's not to stereotype every single parent, but is there any kind of advice you would give to the people who feel scared and are really worried about making the wrong decision and so feel just a bit frozen and even stepping forward?
Totally. So that stuckness is where the anxiety is going to have a breeding ground. you have to learn to trust yourself if you're going to be in the dating world, because it's not about, you don't learn how to do all this work on yourself so that you go out and you guarantee you're going to meet somebody. I can't guarantee that the next person you're going to date is to be the person for you. But what I can tell you is that if you have the tools that you need and you trust yourself, that one, no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. And that second of all, that I trust that you'll be able to identify behavior that doesn't work for you. So it's really about, you don't trust other people. That means you don't trust yourself. So what we need to do now is start to build the self-esteem. Where'd you learn that behavior? What's going on? What about those exes was so intoxicating that you kept going? It's not about blaming yourself or shaming yourself or saying, oh my God, how could I not have seen the red flags? Instead, we can reframe that. Instead of looking at, well, how did I not see it? What parts of me so badly needed what they were giving me? How can we learn about ourselves? Because the fear is only going to cripple you, and how you stay stuck is by not making a decision. So if you're scared and you're out there dating, I need you to stop and say, what am I so scared of? Oh, that I'm going to get into another narcissistic relationship. Okay, well, do I trust that I've learned about this? Yes. Do I have a good support system around me? Yeah, of course. I have amazing friends and a great therapist or coach that I work with. Okay. Do I know the signs that I'm looking out for? Absolutely. I've learned it from my, okay, great. Then what am I so scared of? If I meet them, that's okay. I trust that I'm going to be able to handle it. You see where I'm going with this? Of it doesn't have to be as crippling when we really start to back up. What are you so scared of?
Yeah.
Because most of the people I work with are just scared that they don't know any better. And now it's just a matter of, okay, great. So we just need to give you some tools that we can handle.
And are there any tips that you'd give for people venturing back into dating to help them cultivate some good habits in dating?
Absolutely. A few things. One, you've got, it's a few things even just to remember, but it's really big about reframing. One, you were good before them, you'll be good after. Like, these people are an addition to your life, not instead of. And we can't look at every single person as this is the one, is this it? Because then there's that's where we need to look and say, where's the savior complex coming from? Because if you so badly want to be saved and, oh, this person's going to do it, it's like, no. If you don't love the life that you're living today, you're not going to love the life that you're living tomorrow with someone else in it. Nobody is going to come in and make it better for you. Nobody comes in and saves you from it. You love the life you live, and so you bring other people into it, not have other people come into it so that you'll start to love the life you live.
Yeah.
So because otherwise, then you're now subjected to, if this person walks away, that's it. Your life is over. You know what I mean? It's like, we can't. We have to live and enjoy who you are. The relationship you have with yourself is the most important relationship you're ever going to have. And so if you're getting into dating, go slow it down. There is no rush. If you are a single parent, if you've already done the kids and you're like, hey, I'm on the other side, I don't want to have any more children, you really have no rush. It's not like you have a biological clock that you have to rush and be, hey, I only have 2 more years before I can't do this anymore. And then even then we could still have other options. There is no rush, but you know what? If you rush into things, then you waste more time. You do end up losing more time than versus going slow and just even stopping a quick thing to say, how do I feel in my body? What's going on with me? It's such a subtle thing. What is it that I want? What is it that I want that I haven't been receiving from other people? Simple questions that we ask ourselves that could be so monumental, but that are so subtle and help us understand a lot, but that we just don't even stop to ask.
And are there any signs that someone shouldn't date or isn't ready to date?
I would say if you take everything personally, it's going to be very difficult for you to date, because you will then internalize every single thing has to do with you. So if you're taking things personally, if you can't even sit in some discomfort, if somebody doesn't text you for 30 minutes and you lose your marbles, then it's time for us to stop and say, hey, is this serving me? Is dating helping me right now? Because there's a difference between, I might not be ready per se, oh, yikes, triggers are a little overwhelming, but I have the tools I can handle whatever comes my way, versus I don't even know my triggers. I don't know what's going on. I'm so unaware, because then you're just going to be continued, because the brain and the nervous system are designed to keep you safe, not designed to keep you grow. So you're just going to keep repeating patterns because your brain doesn't understand how to help you grow. So it's just trying to keep you safe. So until you start to implement new things into your life and start to learn new things, you're just going to keep repeating the same shit, because that's not even the definition of insanity. That's literally hardwired why our brains are in existence to keep you safe.
Wow. We have to be so busy just being self-aware all the time, don't we, with all of this? I feel like that's what it all really boils down to.
It's its own practice, and that's why most people don't want to do it, because it's tiring. It's exhausting to constantly look and say, what's going on? But what happens is, the reason we do that, the reason, like, my clients, they'll go, I know you're going to ask. And I'm like, do you want to know why I ask? Because we all love to know why. Why we have to stop and ask what's going on in our bodies is because we have different parts of the brain. The prefrontal cortex, the front part of our brain, is decision-making and common sense. Then we have the amygdala and we have anxious brain. Those are tucked under, and those are there to keep you safe. And that's repetition. When you go into anxious brain, you shut the prefrontal cortex off, which is decision-making and common sense. And then you start going into anxious brain. That's why you start repeating patterns and go right into, that's half the time we'll go, what? So if you can stop and go, wait, I feel off. You even just being able to say, I feel, and identify something, you just turned on the prefrontal cortex. Now decision-making and common sense is back. So you see why it's so important to stop back, because your brain literally needs it. Otherwise, you could ruminate for 4 days and go lost into thought until someone texts you, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, just kidding. It was fine the whole time.
Oh, that's good to know that we can switch it back on.
Absolutely. Our brain is amazing. We just need to learn how to work with it.
So my final question to you, thinking about, all of the single parents in the Frollo community who are kind of getting ready to date and maybe, going on. So we've got 2 different modes on our app. We've got the community mode and the dating mode. So for anyone who's thinking about switching over to dating mode and setting up a profile, I wondered if you have, I've seen that you give some dating app profile tips. So is there anything you would recommend for people, getting the most out of their dating profile, or what, do's and don'ts?
Absolutely. So a couple of things. We need to have variety. And what I mean by that is, when it comes, we'll break it down. When it comes to photos, show a variety, show full body, show a little crop, show you with a friend, show you doing an activity you like. I get rid of anything that doesn't show you. So stop showing views of the beach when you went on vacation. Stop with a photo of a meal that you had. Like, none of this is me learning about you. And we have to remember, this is a resume. This is a quick, somebody is having 2 seconds to get an idea of who they want you to be. So put your best foot forward. Have photos that accurately represent who you are, not 15 years ago. The whole point of this is to show up for who you are, so that people accept you as you, so that you're not wearing a mask. And then that also means, when it comes to the conversation fodder, if I see one more prompt of the biggest risk I've taken is like moving to a new city, it's like, give a conversation fodder, share information about yourself, and maybe ask a question, or share something funny about yourself, or put something there will elicit a response. Prompts are there to start a conversation. Prompts aren't there just so that I can go 3 emojis to describe yourself. Okay, what did I learn about this person? How am I going to start a conversation with this person? It's the same advice as I'd give if you're going out in the wild. Don't go and approach someone, wow, you have really pretty hair. You start with a compliment. Someone's already going to get turned off. Oh, you just like me for physical? Versus if you come up and say, wow, I love that color on you. It's a really beautiful sweater. Thank you so much. I'm going to start a conversation with you about that. So it's the double side. If you're looking and saying, nobody starts a conversation with me, give them something to start a conversation about. And if you're struggling to figure out things to start a conversation about, look and see what they have to offer. If you look at somebody's profile and you see that they're just really attractive, but they have nothing else to offer and they have no prompts, nothing, then start to ask yourself, what do I like about this person? Am I just liking them because they're attractive? That's okay. Well, then I'm going to manage my expectations and know that I don't even know if we're going to have any conversation here. So it's just about being a better buyer on there and being a better seller, learning how to sell yourself, but also learning how to be a buyer and make sure that you're choosing accordingly on who you want to bring into your life as well.
Yes, that makes complete sense. Thank you so much. That's great advice. Well, Sabrina, thank you so much. I feel like we covered so much in a short space of time, but there are so many nuggets in there. So thank you so much for sharing your guidance and your wisdom with us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for welcoming me into the community. It's great to meet everybody.
Of course. And please let us know, where can our listeners find you?
So Do the Work podcast is, if you want to learn more about anxious attachment and dating, is a whole resource for you. Do the Work podcast on Instagram, Sabrina.Zohar on Instagram and TikTok. There's tons and tons and tons of short form content and all of these. And coming soon is the YouTube channel will have more long form and courses and all that stuff. So there's tons of things, but you can find me at any of those social channels and learn more from all of them.
Amazing. You are one busy lady.
To say the least.
Well, have an amazing day there in San Diego. And thank you so much for joining us, and really looking forward to staying connected.
Likewise. Thank you guys so much. Have a good one.
And that's a wrap for this week. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, then I have one small favour to ask. Please can you take a minute to subscribe to the Frollo podcast and give us a rating and review. This really helps other single parents who might benefit from it find us. The Frollo app, which is fully user verified for user safety, is available on the Google Play Store and the App Store, and you can find out more info and download links at www.frollo.com or follow us on Instagram at Frollo app. And you can purchase your copy of our book, How to Be a Happy Single Parent, at all the major book retailers. Until next time, have a great week.